it gets more and more difficult. So this time it's on my phone because I'm traveling. Next week is going to be a normal Learn Italian live session. This week is going to be a bit strange. Let me share the link with everyone and then we'll begin properly. Today we're going to do more exercises on the imperfetto, which is a tense in Italian that causes quite a few issues. Hold on a second, let me just copy the link. All right. How can I see the chats? Top chat, live chat. All right, I think the chat is set. Trying to work out how to use this. Okay. Right, so let's begin. It's 2 p.m. GMT time on Sunday, and on 2 p.m. GMT time on Sunday, we have Learn Italian live sessions. In these sessions, we learn Italian. The difference between learning and not learning is basically all around, it revolves around the fact that we have to put in effort in order to learn things. All learning is self-learning. So during the live session, I like to ask questions, and I would like to see, I always like to see chats that either ask questions or question the examples that we cover. I think it's important to have a lot of interaction when doing these live sessions. We tackle different topics. It depends on the questions that we have. There's different topics being covered each week. Now in these sessions, they're public, so there's all sorts of questions coming up. Basic questions, more nuanced questions, and I try to do my best to answer them all. I'm a native speaker, so it's really easy for me to answer questions that relate to Italian. I also took the trouble to learn another language, so I've also walked the walk, so to speak, and I think that's also important. I think a lot of native speakers don't really understand what it's like to learn a language. It's a little bit like asking a rich person how to make money. So if they had if they made the money themselves, then they might be able to help you. But if they were born in a rich family, they might not actually know. And that's the case with many native speakers. So I always try to remind myself of the time when I was a learner myself, learning English from an Italian point of view, because I'm Italian, so my mind was wired in a certain way. And so there is this concept of rewiring as we learn things. Mark, Amedeo, ciao a tutti, ciao. Ciao Mark, ciao Amedeo. Come state? Avete delle domande per me? Avete delle domande che hanno a che fare con l'imperfetto o no? So if you have questions to do with imperfetto, that would be great, because last time quite a few people asked for more questions, more examples with imperfetto. Buongiorno a tutti. Buongiorno Fiore. Yeah, so if you have any questions, I'm here to answer your questions. If you have any example, I'm here to look at them, cover them. I want to start using Twitter more. That's something that I wanted to say. Mark is asking, can you cover again using avere versus essere? Okay, yeah, so last time I made a mistake. Not in the sense that I said something wrong, but in the sense that I've talked about something that wasn't necessarily something that I had to talk about. Avere e essere. We all understand that we have auxiliary verbs. So in English, you say, I have eaten. In this case, the verb is to eat. But the auxiliary verb is have. I have eaten. So you use the verb to have to build, to form a complex tense in English. In the same way, in Italian, ho mangiato. Ho mangiato. Hai mangiato. So we use, it's the same concept. Verbi ausiliari. Verbi che aiutano altri verbi. Okay? So we have verbs that help other verbs to form tenses. That's the concept of auxiliary verbs. Now, it is very, very simple in English because you use the verb to have. For example, when you want to build the present perfect or the past perfect, right? I have eaten. I had eaten. These are two tenses, and they're both using the same auxiliary verb. Now, in Italian, there is a distinction. So when we form the present perfect or the past perfect, we don't always use the verb to have as an auxiliary verb. Ho mangiato. Hai mangiato. Okay, this is a normal verb to eat. I have eaten. You have eaten. Ho bevuto. Hai bevuto. So, I ate, or I have eaten. You have eaten. Right? Sorry, drunk. I had some water. You have some water. Or I had some water. You had some water. Sometimes, instead of using the verb to have, avere, ho, hai, etc., in Italian you use the verb to be, essere. When do we use the verb essere to form the present perfect or the past perfect? We use it when the verb, the main verb, for example, I have eaten, the main verb is to eat. When the main verb is intransitive. Intransitive meaning that the verb doesn't need or doesn't want a direct object. For example, most verbs are transitive. Most verbs require or allow for a direct object. I eat pasta. Mangio la pasta. Bevo l'acqua. So I eat, what do I eat? Something. I drink, what do I drink? Something. Um, I I don't know. Punch. I punch. Who do I punch? I punch someone, or I punch something. I punch the wall. Um, I punch my neighbor. That's really bad. So don't punch your neighbor. But the point is, most verbs have a direct object. So subject, predicate, object. The subject carries out the action. The action is carried out onto someone or onto something. I kiss my, I don't know, my wife, my friend. So kissing is also transitive. These are all examples of transitive verbs. And these verbs are the majority. The majority of verbs are transitive. I verbi transitivi. Transitivi. Then there are verbi intransitivi. So verbs that cannot have a direct object. For example, I say to go. To go. I go kitchen. That doesn't work. It doesn't work because to go needs a preposition. It needs something. I go to somewhere. You can't go someone. You can't go something. You go to a location. The same for other verbs, such as to come, right? I came somewhere. Again, there isn't a direct object. Most verbs that are intransitive, so I verbi intransitivi, sono verbi di movimento. Movimento. So they have to do with motion and movement. Going from somewhere, arriving, getting there, etc. There are exceptions, but I think you could probably compile a list of 20 verbs that are intransitive and common, and that's it. So the majority of verbs are transitive, a minority of verbs are intransitive. Now, if the verb is intransitive and you want to form, say, the present perfect, for example, instead of I have gone, like you would say in English, I have gone, in Italian you say sono andato. Sono andato. You don't say ho andato. Io ieri ho andato a scuola. Yesterday I went to school. Ieri ho andato a scuola. That's not good. It's really bad. It's really bad because it's a clear mistake. It's not something that, oh, well, some people in some dialects, some regions. No, it's completely and utterly wrong. So you have to remember to use the verb to be. Sono andato. Io sono andato a scuola. Tu sei andato a teatro, al cinema. There's different places. You can go wherever you want. But you have to use the verb to be. So this is the contention. This is the problem around, do I use the verb to be to form a complex tense like present perfect, past perfect, or do I use the verb to have like we do in English? And the answer is, in Italian, you use the verb to have, avere, except when we have intransitive verbs. Then you use the verb to be. So it's a bit confusing, but hopefully not too much. Yeah, so I think I answered the question. I think Mark asked this question. So Mark, let me know if it's not clear. Franci, ciao a tutti. Ciao, Marco Tasselli, buon pomeriggio. Ciao anche a te. Yes, I also want to say something. when we study a foreign language, there is a tendency to there is a tendency to focus on the negative. I think, well, that's not just about languages. So I believe humans have evolved to have a predisposition for survival. So we are more sensitive to the negative news than to the positive news. And when we learn a new language, we are also more sensitive to the things that we don't know or feel unsafe or uncomfortable with, unsure about, than with the things that we like. So we focus on the negatives. I find personally that it's very convenient, it can be very beneficial and strategic to be very not just optimistic in the sense of being irrational. Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna do it. Let's do it. No, it's not being optimistic. Not that's not the word. But train yourself to just love the language that you're learning. So if there isn't a reason for it, for a rule, just make one up. It's very useful. It just makes it easier. Oh, Mark says, capisco, grazie. Capisco, c'è un errore di scrittura, ma perfetto, sì, capisco. Capisco qualcosa. I understand something. So, capisco, capire. Capire is another example of transitive verb. So, ho capito. To fall is an example of intransitive verb. Cadere. Sono caduto. We don't say ho caduto. If someone trips and hurts them, they hurt themselves, you don't say, oh, hai caduto? No, that's not what we say. We would say, sei caduto? Sei caduto? Did you fall down? Important, very important. Buon pomeriggio. Bene, bene, bene. Ci sono domande a proposito del imperfetto? We talked a lot about imperfetto. I would like you to take 1 minute and write down some examples with imperfetto. Remember last time we spoke about how it's a very particular tense and it's used in situations where we're talking about the past and we're talking about something that happened for a very long time or something that was happening at regular intervals. And that's the difference between that and say, I was going, the past continuous. Andavo, stavo andando. We looked at that difference, but I think it's quite subtle. And some people asked for another session on this, or at least another opportunity to write some examples or look at some examples. So, do you guys have any questions on imperfetto? Maybe you have studied imperfetto for a week and now you know exactly how it works. So we have no problem. Unfortunately, this week I'm on my phone and it's an exception. So I won't be able to spend too much time writing. So I would like you to do the writing and I can do the reading. I can read just about. And I can then comment. Oh, okay, we have an example. Mark is writing, ieri mangiavo un panino. Ieri mangiavo un panino. Okay, so we If I were someone that wants to encourage you, I would probably say, yeah, that's fine. And if you said that, if you said ieri mangiavo un panino, I don't think anyone would not understand. So it is clear what you're saying. Ieri, yesterday, mangiavo, I ate, a sandwich, un panino. Yeah, there's one N. Yeah, panino. Panino is a it's a very so the word panna in Italian means cream. So un panino, I don't know. It would be like a little bit of cream somewhere. I don't know. It doesn't exist, obviously, the word. But panino means sandwich. Ieri mangiavo un panino. It's not a good example. I'm going to explain why it's not a good example. This is a great example to explain the imperfetto and its intricacies. So, we talked about a very important concept last time that the imperfetto relies on, and that's il tempo dell'azione. Il tempo dell'azione. Or I tempi dell'azione. No, il tempo dell'azione, which is the time of the action. And it's the study of what happens when in a sentence. Ho mangiato un panino. Ieri ho mangiato un panino. Yesterday I have eaten a sandwich, but in Italian the present perfect is just the past. So, yesterday I ate a sandwich. Ieri ho mangiato un panino. Italians love the present perfect. So, ieri ho mangiato un panino. Yesterday I ate a sandwich. That would be correct. That would be correct. So why is mangiavo incorrect? Il tempo dell'azione is basically the forming an understanding about which action represents a horizontal line, and which action represents a vertical line. In other words, if the action was taking place over a long period of time, that's a horizontal line. If the action took place at a given moment, then that's a vertical line. For example, when I was studying, or when I was in school, I had an accident. So when I was in school is representing that horizontal line. So the action of being in school was taking place. And during that, the vertical line, an accident happened, right? Something happened, and it happened one day or one moment. But it doesn't matter how long it took, but the point is, as something else was taking place, something specific took place. So we use the present perfect, which is the past simple in English, present perfect in Italian, to talk about the past, to describe actions that are vertical, that happened at one moment or over a relatively short period of time in the past, right? So that's the most simple case in Italian. You just used the present perfect, the past. Imperfetto is for the horizontal lines, right? So, ieri, this could be a valid example. Ieri, mentre mangiavo un panino, ho visto Giulia. Ieri, mentre mangiavo un panino, ho visto Giulia. So yesterday, as I was eating my sandwich, I saw Giulia. So Now we've turned that vertical line, I ate a sandwich, to a horizontal line. As I was eating the sandwich, something happened. And something happened immediately. Or so immediately. It happened in a specific time. At a specific time in the the action began and ended in a specific time frame as another action was taking place. So in that case, we can say mangiavo. Mentre mangiavo un panino. So is it more clear? Is it clear why ieri mangiavo un panino is not perfect, is not good enough? Is not good enough, yeah, because it shows me that the understanding of when and why to use the imperfetto is not 100% there. And it's not there because if you want to describe something in the past, yesterday I met Frank, you use the past and that's it. The past in Italian is present perfect, right? So, ieri ho visto Franco. Ieri ho visto Franco. Very simple. The imperfetto is for horizontal, vertical. So as something was happening, something else happened. When something took place, something else was taking place over a long period of time. Quando ero piccolo andavo in palestra. Okay, so when I was a child or when I was young, I used to go to the gym. Horizontal lines. Quando eravamo in Italia, mangiamo colazione ogni mattina. Great. So this is much better. And it's perfect. So, quando eravamo in Italia. This makes perfect sense. Because now you are opening the sentence with a horizontal line. You're describing a time, a space of time during which something, happened. Probably we're going to learn in the second part of the sentence. Quando eravamo in Italia. When we used to be in Italy, right? Used to be doesn't exist in Italian, that format, the form doesn't exist. Instead, imperfetto comes in handy. So, quando eravamo in Italia. So I assume you and perhaps your family or your friends were in Italy at some point in time in the past. And you want to say that something happened while you were in Italy. Quando eravamo in Italia. You wouldn't say when we were, because in English you would say when we were in Italy. Yeah. Quando siamo stati in Italia. That would be wrong. It wouldn't flow. Much better with the imperfetto. Quando eravamo in Italia. Mangiamo colazione ogni mattina. Fine, except you're in the past. So mangiamo has to become mangiavamo. Do you remember last time we saw all the different cases? There are different cases, depending on the situation. You can have a horizontal line and a vertical line. You can have two vertical lines or two horizontal lines. This is a two horizontal line case. Two vertical lines. When I met Frank, my jaw dropped. So in this case, the two actions are happening almost immediately. Quando ho visto Frank, la mia bocca si è spalancata. Okay? Spalancare, to open completely. La mia bocca, my mouth, si è spalancata. We are using the past simple, present perfect in Italian, in both cases, so two vertical lines. In this example, quando eravamo in Italia, mangiavamo la colazione ogni mattina, or facevamo colazione ogni mattina. This is a difference between Italian and English that's quite funny. So in English you say I eat breakfast. In Italian you say I have breakfast. In English you can also say I have breakfast. In Italian it is a little bit strange to say I eat breakfast. Mangiamo colazione. You can say that, but it's more Italian to say facciamo colazione. Facciamo cena, facciamo colazione. Quindi, quando eravamo in Italia, facevamo colazione ogni mattina. Okay, yeah, so this is a good question. Avevamo mangiato. So I started explaining things, assuming that the second part of the sentence would be a vertical line. But it was two horizontal lines, so I flipped it. So a correct example could be quando eravamo in Italia. Abbiamo mangiato l'aragosta. Abbiamo mangiato il pesce. Abbiamo mangiato una giraffa. Un ippopotamo. So then that's the case, right? Use imperfetto in the first part and then present perfect in the second part, because it's just a sudden action. But in your example, you are specifying that every morning you were doing something repeatedly. So that's one perfect indication that you should be using the imperfetto. Quando eravamo in Italia, so during the time where you were in Italy, horizontal line, you use imperfetto. Quando eravamo in Italia, mangiavamo colazione o facevamo colazione ogni mattina. So, imperfetto, imperfetto, because both are describing actions that are long and so yeah, they're both horizontal lines. I find that the lines theory, so-called line theory, is useful for me to explain it, but I don't know if it's easy for people to understand or if there's a better way to do this. So I'm open to suggestions, but I will find a way to make it easier if it doesn't make sense. Because I don't like myself when I say, oh, the action didn't the action was sudden. Like, it doesn't matter if it was sudden or not. It's more about the concept of it happened during a period of time. So that period of time is imperfetto when you're describing a period of time versus when you're describing something happening, regardless of how long it takes. The line theory is very good. Yeah, okay, well, thanks. Positive feedback. Yes, I see now. That's great. Oh, ciao Arturo. Amedeo chiede: quando sono stato a Londra andavo tutte le mattine in quel locale. Great. So this is another example of imperfetto, imperfetto. When something was happening, something else was happening as well throughout. This is the important thing, throughout. It was happening all along. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, line theory is not like it's there's nothing appealing about it except the fact that it works. It's not even a theory or a pattern. It's just the rule. It's just exactly how it works. So it's very good in the sense that it represents things precisely. But yeah, I don't know if if there's a better way to explain it. I feel that sometimes I just it's a bit difficult. Maybe it's just the concept, imperfetto is a difficult tense, and we have many tenses, so you can't just understand or explain things in 2 minutes. So we've gone on for 35 minutes already. I can't believe it. Do you guys have any more examples? Because I wanted this session to last only 20 minutes or so, because I'm on my phone and I want to have a big, amazing session next time. And I'm preparing for that. So this session was just to give you a little bit of extra time to ask me questions about imperfetto, il tempo imperfetto, e come usarlo. Two little things that I wanted to say. First of all, if you haven't given a thumbs up to the video, please feel free to do so. And second thing, I would like in the future to start using Twitter a bit more. So feel free to follow us on Twitter. I'll be tweeting a lot of crazy things in Italian or in English. I don't know. I haven't thought about that yet. But it's going to be fun. I'm going to leave you another 30 seconds to come up with questions, and then I'm going to close the call, and I'll see you all next week with a different topic. If you still have questions about imperfetto, feel free to post them. To me, the students can always post me questions. It doesn't matter. Happy Father's Day to those parents of humans and pets. I think it's Father's Day in most countries. Yeah, so well and good. Il giorno, la giornata del papà. And the difference between giorno e giornata is a whole different topic. It's quite fun. But usually when in English you have, Veterans Day or this day or the other day, these are translated, well, they're not translated. I mean, in Italian Italians would use giornata more often than not. La giornata di papà. La giornata del papà. Again, this is another example, case in point, of the fact that Italians always like to use definite articles when in English you just wouldn't. You said di, maybe, it's del. Padri. Padre is very formal. Very formal. Papà is more common. Padre, madre is very, very formal. Unless you want to, unless it's about, if you want to make some sort of effect or something like that, but otherwise it's very formal. I guess in ancient times, kids would talk to their parents using the word padre, madre, and they would also perhaps dare del lei. So they were using the polite form when speaking to their parents, for better or worse, and that obviously got lost these days. I don't think anyone does speak to their parents using the polite form. But they do use the polite form. Students use the polite form when they speak to teachers. Yeah. Va bene ragazzi, non ci sono altri esempi, non ci sono altre domande. Abbiamo raggiunto 40 minuti e io vi saluto. Sono in Albania oggi e tornerò presto dove vivo, ok? Ci vedremo la prossima settimana. Studiate italiano e venite la prossima settimana con degli esempi, tanti esempi ed esercizi. Okay, so next week, a lot of examples and exercises. Get ready and feel free to ask me questions. The more questions, the better. And I'm going to try and only answer questions that relate to the topic that we're going to discuss next week. Ciao a tutti. Oh, ciao a tutti, alla prossima settimana. Esatto. Ciao a tutti, alla prossima settimana e abbiate una bella settimana. Ci vediamo presto. Ciao ciao. Mi raccomando, studiate italiano. Next time I'm going to be speaking more and more Italian as the time goes on. So you have to keep up. Let me know if it's too easy, too hard, and yeah, all right. Closing. Bye bye bye.